Greetings, everyone. Steve, Paracord of Kindness. How you doing today? Hopefully, we've been happy. Okay, what I had for you today is a follow-up video. In this one, I'm going to show you how I stitch the Anaconda Paracord Bracelet. Right? The other one, which should already be on the channel, is how to weave the bracelet. But in this one, it's simply the stitching, which is pretty easy. The bracelet's not that hard. Take a little time, but it's not that hard. The stitching is not that hard either. But it's a nice looking bracelet. And this one right here is the one we're actually going to be working on today. And I've done this one on a brown metal safe lock buckle, generically referred to as a tactical buckle. The core strands are brown, and the main body is fox orange, and these little crossbar pieces, you can see that they're rust. And then the stitching, which we're going to do in this video, is goldenrod. Right? And I did this, I'll say this, I did this, these colors, fall colors, to match a keychain I made. If any of you followed me on the social medias, perhaps you've seen it. The top section of it is the vortex, and the bottom is the little paracord pumpkin. If you don't follow me on social medias, the link for Instagram accounts below. You can follow me. Appreciate that. But you can see that pumpkin, the pumpkin keychain, which this was made to match that. Okay, but if you want to see how I stitch the Anaconda Paracord Bracelet, stick around because we'll get right to it. Okay, folks, if you watched the last video where I showed you how I weaved it, I appreciate it. In this one, hopefully this one won't be really long. I'm going to just show you how to stitch it. Okay, this stitching on this one is not that hard. It's really not. It doesn't take a lot of time. But if you choose the right colors, it can make a tremendous pop, and it will make it look really well. Like I said, I've showed these probably. See the yellow? That's what we're going to do. The stitching is going to go up under my new and improved handy dandy laser paracord pointer. This little red, imperial red crossbar type piece. We're going to go underneath it. Right? And it's just going to come up, go down, and it's going to just wrap around that core strand. That's all it's going to do. It's pretty simple. Right? That other one I did. Right? Okay. Now, like I've said in plenty of my videos, like I said in the other video, but I'm going to say it again in this one. When you know you're going to do stitching on a bracelet, do not, well, you can if you want to, but I would highly recommend not cutting and burning your main weaving cords all the way down. Why? Because what happens is, even if you just do one strand here, and you got 3 separate cut and burns, doesn't matter. Or you do like me, where I try to get them all in one spot and one big cut and burn. No matter. That little hard lump of melted plastic potentially can be right in the way of where you want your stitching needle to go through that bracelet. Right? So, what you do, this is a standard practice I do. Always, 1 to 2 inches, cut them off. I didn't just melt the ends of them. You don't have to melt the ends, but I prefer to, just so they stay unfrayed, potentially, because it can happen. One tiny little strand of that, if you don't melt it, one little tiny strand could get caught on something and pull, and it causes a run in your cord, and it may end up affecting the way it looks. Make sense? Hence why I melt them. But you do that. You don't do the cut and burn, the final cut and burn, until the very end of the bracelet after you stitch it. Make sense? Okay, now with that said, let's get started. The stitching on this one's not hard. Doesn't take long. You just sit down and do it. Now I've already got me a piece cut and put in there, and put it in there so it's not going to come out. I say this all the time. Put it in there in the end. Whatever, I know some people use actual needles, like leather needles, leather stitching needles and things. I've never used one, so I couldn't tell you. But this one, you had to thread it in the back. But put it in there so it's not going to come out. Right? Okay, now, what we're going to do, we'll make sure I'm going to look at this right. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to zoom in. We'll zoom in and show you. This one, it's not hard. All this is if you've seen me, well, it's the same kind of principle. If you've seen me do this side spiral stitch I do on a lot of bracelets, this is kind of the same thing, but instead of spiraling around that outside edge, we're just spiraling basically around that core string right there. Normally when I do a side spiral stitch, that's what I call it, I'm spiraling around that outer core strand. Well, in this case, we're spiraling around the next one over, because if you look, handy dandy, no approved, handy dandy laser prick one for this core strand you can see, that's not the outer core strand. That's the outer one. You can kind of see it right here and right here. But we're not going to spiral around that one. We're going to spiral around this one. So it's kind of the same thing, but not quite. Sort of the principle. But what we're going to do, like always, I'm going to anchor it. I ain't going to say like always, like most of the time. I'm going to anchor it the same place I got my 550s anchored. So I'm going to go up under these two pieces of orange. One piece is going to come over here to this side and do this one, and we're going to cut another piece and go up under and anchor it, and it's going to go down this side, right? So we're going to go up under there. Careful not to snag anything. Just get it up under there, right? Push it through. When you get it through, kind of press it back down with your thumb. That way, when you go to pull it, it won't. You don't pull it and it'll come all the way through. And I'm going to tell you, this piece is way longer than I need. But it was in it's a scrap piece that I cut and I ended up not needing. So I figured, go ahead and use it. All right. Pull it through, you get about right there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take it. Make sure we'll find the right place. And I'm going to go through. If we look, I'm going to go, this is the top, and down here is the bottom, right? So I'm going to refer to it as such. I'm going to go below this piece of orange, and above, you can barely see that little piece of rust right there. And there's a core strand right there. On the inside, toward this direction of that core strand, you can sort of see. You'll see it when you make one, you'll see it. But below that orange, above that rust, on the inside of that core strand, I'm going to go through and I'm going to come out. You'll see. Let me get it through there. Now I'm going to tell you, this first little up here at the top, it's a little tight. So getting it to go through there, I might have to struggle to get it to go through there. No. You see what I'm saying? Alright, and then I'm going to wrap over that brown core strand. I'm going to go back down through there. Okay, now, so that's the easy part. The next one, where you got to go back through the bracelet, when you get right here, just kind of hold your thumb. Hold the thumb so this doesn't get pulled through. And then just, right? Okay, now. This one right here, you can't see this. If you look, if you took this piece of orange that's running at an angle, and this piece of rust, if you were able to kind of push them apart, look, you're going to see there's a cord right in there, up under there, but you can't see it. It's up under there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go across that brown and down through between that piece of rust and that piece of orange right here. and we're going to come out on the back side. I'm going to make sure, make sure I'm going to come out in the correct place. Let me get it through here and I'll show you where I'm going to come out at. It comes out almost in the same place. I know my camera just will not focus, which I get it because it's got the background. You see where I went through that? Now look where I'm coming out at. Pretty much in the same place as that other one went down in there. Below that orange and above that piece of rust. Okay. I'm going to run it through and I'm going to pull it through. Now, if you pull it really, really tight, what's going to happen is it's going to kind of want to tend to maybe disappear up under that piece of rust. So don't try to pull this stitching real tight. Just give it a little, you know, a couple of toe tugs on the back. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, we got to get from here down to the next repetition. And that's sitting kind of funny right there. That's all right though. But you see, we went below this piece of orange and above that piece of rust right there. That's where we went through. Right? Now, we just got to get down to the next one, which is right here. And we're going to come out in the same spot right there. Make sense? Like I say, most of the time from going from this side through and coming out this side, that's the easy one. It's the going from this side back through to the back that can be a little tricky. I say that, and it's going to prove me to be a liar right here on camera. Now, see how I did that? Okay. Pull it through. Alright. So basically, we're going to have this little piece that runs down, and then it's going to come out here and run down to the next one. It's going to come out there and run down to this. That's all it is. But it's going to wrap around that over, right down through here. When you put it in here, I've noticed this. Once you go to insert it here, kind of angle it upward and outward. And it seems to want to go through there in the right place and get it to right where you want it. I say that. See what I'm saying? How it's angled going outward that way and kind of upward. Not really, kind of, but not so much. So let's see, it's coming out right next to where the other one went in. The other piece of goldenrod. That's what this is goldenrod. See that? And that's it. I mean, that's all it is. I'll do it one more time. Making sure I'm going to go through the right, because you get confused back here, but just look where you come, look right there, and then just look for the next section that looks just like it. Bam. See how easy that one goes through? That's the one that's easy. See, and again, it creates that little piece on the back. I'll flip it over. Now this one is the one that can be a little tricky. Get it? Okay, it went through. See? It's coming out the same place it went through, but it's wrapping around this core strand. Oops, sorry, wrapping around that core strand. That way when I do pull it through, that core strand is what stops it. And that's it. I mean, that's all there is to it. And you do the same side, you're just doing it on the other side, right? Now, I'm going to show you. Last time. Go down to the next repetition right here. Goes through there pretty easy. Pull your slack out. Flip it over. See? This stitch is not that hard. And then bam. See? Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch this one out. Like I said, it's 2 runs of stitching, one down one side and one down the other. Some of these stitch patterns I do, it will alternate. And I could probably do it that way, I just didn't. I've done it so it's 1 run, 1 piece of stitching down this side, or 1 piece of microcord doing the stitch run down this side, and then another piece and I'll do it down this side. Right? Right. Now I'm going to run this one out to the end, whatever, and then we'll do the other one. When I get all the way down to the bottom, I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll do the actual final cut and burn on our 550 and the stitching, right? So stick around, I'll be back in a second. Okay, weavers, I got it stitched out. I got one side done, I got the other side done, except for like the last one, and I figured I'd show you. Now I'll show you what I did with the first one. Let's zoom in a little bit. That first one, I did it all the way down. Didn't do the very last one, but I did that second to the last one. It comes around, and if you look, I'll show you. It come out right here, but instead of immediately going up under just that one orange one and have it coming out where the rest of the 550 is, or where the 550 is, I ran it down and went up under all 3 of those pieces of orange. Makes sense? Now on this side, I'm going to go through and do this one last stitch. I may do this one, I'm not sure yet. But let's just see. Let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to do the same pattern we've been following. Go down. That's going to be tight. I can go ahead and tell you it's tight right there. Go to the center. I'll go across the strand and go right there and go through just like we've been doing. I say it's kind of tight down here at the end. So we're just going through, coming out right next to the other piece of goldenrod. Right. I think I'm gonna do this very last one. Let's see. I may do it, and it may not. I may not like the way it looks. We'll just follow it to that next spot. It's going to be pretty tight, I can tell you. If I can get it to go through right there. I may getting it to go through here. That's going to be, oof. Oh no, that actually went through pretty good. Went straight through. Right. Let's pull it through. Let's see. Does that look? Yeah, that looks good. That'll be the last one. Now, all I'm gonna do back here, same principle. Instead of, well, I guess I could, but being that I could honestly, I could just follow this piece of rust right up and go up under that one piece of orange. But being that it's one lone piece of microcord, let's go back. Let's go down and then go up through up under those three, right? Like I said before, this first piece of orange and this third piece of orange, it's not so tight. But that one right there in the middle is tight. That's what I'm having to get up under. Even with this smaller or narrower needle I'm using, it's still, okay, I got it under there. Now if I can get it up under that last one. Yeah, it's there, but it's just tight. You can see it sticking out right there. Oh, that's tight. I don't use, some people will use the little, I don't know what it's called. I don't use one of those. Oh, that was tight. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it through. I don't know if I can get a hold of it good. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. If I can get enough of it sticking out and I can get my fingers on it just right, I can usually pull it through. Alright, that's it. Now we got it. Now let's see. Let's look. Obviously the top of it. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and cut this one off. About the same length as the rest of them. That way we can get this out of the way. Put this back over here in a little holder I got. Throw that away. That's not long enough to do anything with. Okay, now, even though I'm about to cut this thing off, it's a habit. I always do this. Just melt it. Get that out. Whatever you use as a smoothing tool, have it at the ready so you're not digging for it. Okay, now, before you do your final cut and burn, pull each, I always like to pull each one of them, get all the slack out of them, right? And then we flip it over and we look and we make sure everything looks good. Looks good to go. Other than that, the core strand, like I said, I don't really like the way it turns out there, but now we're going to cut and burn these. And like I always say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and I'm going to kind of bend them back this way. In attempts, see how now they're standing straight up as opposed to laying down. That way when I cut them, they're standing up and I can burn them as opposed to them being laying flat and they're right next to the bracelet. It's easier to burn when they're standing up like that. It's easier to burn these pieces I've cut and not get on the bracelet, right? Because we don't want to burn the bracelet. It happens, but we don't. Ideally, we don't want to burn the back of the bracelet at all. We only want to burn where we cut these. But it does happen, so we be mindful. Okay. Now, I'm going to cut these all at once. And like I say, some people, they're scared. No, leave some length. You got to have something to burn. Now, I'll show you how much I left. See, now it's going to leave a big old piece of plastic, but that's okay. In the way I do this, that's fine with me. Why? That way I can burn these and not the bracelet. I'm gonna, when I melt them, all that's going to melt into one big lump. And what that does is it connects all them together. So you don't have just one piece that potentially can come out. It can't come out because it's connected to all the other ones. They all have to come out, and that's not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? That's why I do it this way. Now I'm going to bend it back a little bit, and I'm going to come at it from this angle. Okay. Let it cool for just a second, and then reach up over your finger, make sure it's smooth. It doesn't have any little hard burrs or teats or anything like that. It's gonna irritate that back there where it's gonna sit on your wrist. It feels pretty smooth. I've had people say, but it looks, guess what? Non-display side. Display side meant to be seen, non-display side not meant to be seen. Right? Hence why I do it that way. I've thought about this. I've done this a while, and I've thought about, you know, one cut and burn, one cut and burn, one cut and burn, and burning them in such a way that you don't even, it never discolors, and it maintains the color of whatever cord you're burning. I'm like, well, that's good, but the benefit of doing it this way, like I said, you have them all in one place, and when you melt them, they all melt together, so it's one solid piece, and not any one of these strands is going to come loose. Why? Because it's connected to the other 3 or 4 or however many you got. So they all have to come out instead of one coming out. If you put one cut and burn here, one cut and burn here, one cut and burn here, you have that potential. Even though you cut and burn them, it can work itself out over time, wear and tear and all that. But like this, yeah, they don't come loose. Right? So you kind of trading off making the bracelet last longer with, yeah, it doesn't look so good. But, like I say, non-display side. Always remember, non-display side. And we're going to do the same thing we just did down here at the bottom. We're going to pull each of the individual strands, get any slack out. And I usually start with a 550, the thicker cord. I'll put it that way. Start with a thicker and then work your way down to the thinner pieces. That's the way I usually did this. Pull them and then pull the little thinner ones. Each individual pull them. Okay, there's no slack. I got it all right. Now we're going to look at the back, front of it. Looks good to me. Everything's lined up. Make sure the 2 edge pieces is tight. Remember how I showed you, well, in the other video, how the piece was yeah, it's not jiggling. It's not wiggling. That little side orange wraparound, right? Okay, now we'll do the same thing. See how they're all laid flat? I'm going to bend them back. That way they'll stand up straight as opposed to laid down. Makes them easier to burn. Easier to get to and burn them and not the bracelet. See what I'm saying? Okay. Leave a little bit of length because you want something to burn. Man. See what I'm saying? Now when I heat them up, I'm going to heat them all up, get them all melty. And then just, they'll all join together into one big burn. Now, feel it. No burrs, no teats, nothing going to irritate the inside of your skin. Now I'm going to show you, like I mentioned in the beginning of the actual how to weave this bracelet tutorial. I tell you, the bracelet's not that thick, but right there at the back where all that comes together, it's thicker. So when you're considering, you know, the thickness of a bracelet, you have to consider the thickest part of the bracelet, which in this case is right there. Right here. because you have all those cords back woven. Right? And I think it would be thicker right there. It just looks thicker down here at the bottom than it does at the top. But there you go. That's it. Now I'm gonna back out. Now, like I say, I made this one for my wife, and her wrist. I got a 7-inch wrist. Her wrist is 6.5 inches, right? But when I'm making for her, like most women, they don't necessarily want the thing to be, you know, a good snug fit, right? It doesn't matter to them. I mean, in fact, I've made her some bracelets that she can slide over her wrist like a bangle, right? So I'm not so concerned about it being a perfect fit. But like I showed at the end of the other video, I sized it for about 7.25 inches. I wasn't trying to be exact, but a lot of times I'll make one for her, but I'll upsize it to the point that if she don't wear it, I can wear it also. She's 6.5, I'm 7. So let's put this on this mandrel, and we'll see. Now that we actually got the thing completely finished, and I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to come out to be right at a 7-inch. Yep. 6-inch, 7 inches up under there. And an 8-inch. But that's it. I'll give you one last look. We started to weave up here, and this is where we started stitching. Here, let me zoom in. I'm way out. Let me zoom in so you can get a better look at that. See? And we got it on a brown 20 millimeter buckle, or a 3/4 inch. Metal safe lock buckle. The core strands are brown, and then the cross piece is rust, and then this is fox orange, and it's stitched in goldenrod. But that's it. That right there is how I stitch an anaconda. But with that, I'll end this one like I end them all. Keep it neat, keep it clean, keep it tight. Happy weaving, folks.